You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hey fam, welcome to Barbell Logic. Welcome to Beast Over Burden. I'm your host, Nikki Sims, CXO of Barbell Logic and a coach. And with me is Andrew Jackson. He's the COO who is also a coach. Hey, Andrew.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Man, I'm having one of those moments where I'm surprised somehow that it's the end of July, even though I've been here the entire time.
Went quick. Summer.
Yeah.
Starting to feel like it's coming to a close.
Fall. Yeah. Sad.
Yeah, fall seems close. Although, August is still prime summertime, but
yeah. The light has changed because the sun...
smell in the air is different.
Yeah. Time to get our winter bods ready. Well, actually, I think I've been working on that all summer. Anyway, so I wanted to share with all of you listeners, when you sign up for our newsletter, which we call the Friday 5, because there are 5 things for you to read about or watch, you are prompted to take a survey. And one of the questions in there is about, we're curious what is limiting you or stopping you from training like how you want to train. And of course, we keep a beat on the results of that survey. And we found out that time management is the biggest obstacle preventing you or others from training. And we have been able to work around that. We think we have, and we have some strategies. And I wanted to talk about that. Well, Andrew wanted to talk about it today, and I thought it was a great idea because there are so many things you can do if you start thinking creatively and know what's important to you to really blast through that obstacle. And then you can, start achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that over the weekend we were having a conversation and I was talking about the common thread that I have noticed in what I work with my strength and nutrition clients with, and also with turnkey coaches, that I'm helping people get the most return on the time that they invest into either of those projects, whether it's their fitness and their health or their business with turnkey coach, helping people streamline the things that they're putting their time into so they get the most out of it is common to both. And then those survey results came out yesterday, and it just seemed like interesting crossroads where that is also what our clients are struggling with. And that's what we help them with.
Yeah.
And coming full circle back to one of the very, I'm sure, early episodes that Matt recorded, why barbells? And barbell logic really kind of emerged from, in a lot of ways, the fact that barbell training is logically a very good solution for people because of the return on the invested time is so high. Now, the challenge is how to do it effectively, and that's what we are professionals at doing, is kind of helping people navigate all the different options, because it feels like there's an infinite number of ways you can go about doing it, and there are. But a big reason that people struggle with time management is because a lot of the perception, and I certainly grew up with this view as well, that more is better.
Totally.
And I think we continue to see that even with people who have trained with us for a while will sometimes get lured or enticed back into that mindset. It can be tricky because that becomes directly proportional to the more the challenge of managing your time becomes increasingly harder.
Yeah. And time is, it's the one resource you don't get back. We can make more money. We cannot buy more time. And that's challenging. And we work with a lot of people who are getting into their 40s. And it seems like around that time, you're just like, man, I like my life and I want to have more of it. But you can't. So you have to really start being a little more selective with how you're spending your time. And also, like I was mentioning at the beginning of the episode, it goes so fast. More than half the year is over. And I've been training the whole time. You've been training the whole time. We've been training for years. And what if all of a sudden it hit you that you haven't been training for 10 years and you wish you had? So how can you start spending your time in the gym with a coach so that it feels effective and it feels like compounding interest? And so I think when someone is in that point where they're like, man, I need to change, I need to start training, and they start doing a lot of research, the things that catch their eye are not the simple, hard, effective programs unless there's, good, proof behind it that will actually work, or if there's a buy-in. It's the programs that have 12 exercises 6 days a week with some guy with his shirt off with lots of abs. Like, that is catchy.
But when your product is a template, then by definition, the value you're adding are the exercises and the sets and reps and the assignment. So then it's inevitable that a program is going to add more for you to do because that's going to look like more value.
Yes. The product is the piece of paper or the PDF or whatever that it's written on.
Right.
It's not the growth. It's not the experience together.
So all that a template needs to do to sell is convince somebody before the purchase that they're going to get something valuable on the other end. So you need something slapped on it, like a guy with abs or somebody in a bikini saying, I did this program and these are the results I got, so you should go do it. And look at all this stuff, we're going to get it. And then you buy it, you get to the other side, you open it up, and it looks huge and complicated and like a lot of stuff, so you don't get buyer's remorse. And then you go try to do it, but what are the odds that you can actually do? I mean, what have you seen some of these programs before?
Yeah, I'm looking at one, and interestingly enough, it was sent to me from someone who didn't have enough time to train. And they're like, but when I want to get back into it, this is the program I want to do. And I'm looking through this program. And because I tend to do a bodybuilding type workout right now, I have a pretty good idea of what these higher rep unilateral exercises demand in terms of time and how much work you have to do when you're not doing as much barbell training. And there's some barbell training in here, but I started reading through it and I just know, including this suggested warm-up, which is silly too, that these workouts are going to take 2 to 3 hours. I mean, there's a day that's 4x12 back squats, 3x10 Romanian deadlifts.
At what weight or intensity?
4x12 at 70%.
70%. Okay.
And he encourages resting 1 to 2 minutes, but also using RPE 8 to 9.
So just like rough order of magnitude, I'm somewhere around a 500-pound squat. So this would be 4x12 at 350 pounds.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, that would be pretty intense.
You could do that.
I could do it, but with 1 to 2 minutes of rest?
Let me tell you what's coming after. And this is after warm-ups that include, it's like 4 different supersets for upper body and lower body.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have 3x10 barbell Romanian deadlift. There's no weight instruction. Superset with 3x10 Bulgarian split squats.
Dang.
And then you've got leg extensions, superset with wide grip pull-ups, which one thing, that is really hard to superset at a gym where other people are using equipment and you have to get up and walk away and do that. And then you move on to a 4x12 close grip lat pull down, superset with a dumbbell chainsaw row. Again, really difficult to superset in a public gym. Then you have an optional accessory of a seated dumbbell curl 4x12. And then lastly, reverse barbell curl on a Smith machine 3, drop sets to failure. Drop sets are brutal. It's a lot of reps. That takes a lot of time. This is day 1 of your week, and there are 6 days to your week. So that would take ages. And this is a 9-week program. And it's just, the person who wrote it is a 23-year-old kid who wants to be a personal trainer. He says that right up front. And he suggests you get a full 8 hours of sleep every night and you eat 0.8 to 1 grams of protein per day. And it's just like, yes, all that stuff sounds wonderful. The trouble is that works for like 2 weeks where you can do all of that. And then
maybe, I mean,
we work with people who live real lives. I mean, 2 weeks in the year, distributed in the year. I mean, like cumulatively, maybe 14 days.
Right. I'd be curious to see how well that person is walking after the first day.
Right. Yeah. You're not even easing into that. Yeah. So it's like, and there's a whole thing with deadlift and front squats and good mornings. And the thing is, it's not realistic, but they're selling the challenge. They're selling the structure. They're selling the solution. But it's so hard to fit something like that into everyday life where you have kids, you have a career, you have nights where you don't sleep well, you travel, you don't know how to eat your protein. Like real life is actually, it's doable to work a program into, but you don't fit the program into the life like you fit the life into the program. We've worked with people who have said that more eloquently than I have. But like, I get where this client is coming from. He wants to get back into training. He wants to feel good. He wants to have a structure. And I get why that was appealing to him. But I think what you were mentioning earlier is like, you don't have to do all that to improve. You can do something different that's very effective. And you've spoken to this so many times on like the one lift a day and still hit PRs where sleep is challenged, stress is really high, and you can still make progress. And it's realistic.
Yeah. And so to run a program like that, as you said, you're going to have to plan your life around that program. So to anybody out there who wants to try to go do something like that, I'm more than encourage somebody to try, but I think you'll very quickly find that it's not sustainable. And if your number one problem is time management, a template is almost by definition going to send you down the wrong direction.
Like, just really get in on this. When you're doing supersets and a lot of exercises at a Globo gym, you have to factor in the time that it takes to wait for equipment. I try all the time to go at times of the day where I won't have to wait, but I always spend at least 15 minutes waiting for a piece of equipment. So factor that in when you have a long list of Globo gym pieces of equipment to work on.
Yeah, I have almost lost touch with that, except for I've been going to the gym more with you, and that's definitely a problem. And I have a couple of clients who still train pretty regularly at the public gym, and occasionally they'll leave that comment. It's like, yep, I couldn't get to the machine. There was somebody else using it and had to cut the workout short. Or I'll notice their time duration spiked up. Something that I would have thought only took 60 minutes took 140. And it's because they were waiting for one piece of equipment or another. And from a time management standpoint, of course, we're going to hammer on barbells and lifting heavy compound weights as barbell logic. But I also think having a home gym is one of the best things you can do from a time management standpoint.
Absolutely.
And it was actually the reason I started down the path of a home gym. If you were to tell me that I needed to go invest in everything that I have today, I probably never would have done it.
Yeah.
But it started for me that I got to a point where I wanted to add more front squat volume to my training. And I could only get to the gym 3 days a week at the time because of work and having a daughter and blah, 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 all that good stuff. So I just started out with just a bar and weights so that I could do one more squat session per week. And it kind of just evolved from there. But time management, if you're trying to get, again, in and out of your training session as quickly as possible, having to go to a public gym is going to be a challenge.
Yep. Getting to a public gym, you have to do more work and it's going to take you longer just for logistics. Whereas a barbell in your garage, your commute time is as long as it takes you to, clear your calendar and get out into that space, which I know is a struggle. I know that's a struggle for sure for many reasons. But when you can make that a low friction part of the experience, then your chance of being consistent and actually generating compounding interest is highly increased.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, it might sound like a big luxury expense, but if you can get just a bar and some plates, then you can deadlift and press pretty easily. If you go to the next step, then you start looking at a squat stand. Now you can at least squat, press, and deadlift pretty easily and get a lot of muscle mass trained with very few lifts.
Yes.
Then you throw in the bench. Next thing you know, you've got $50,000 home gym. One thing leads to
And
another.
it's the best. Welcome. You will start looking at everybody else like they're less. Just kidding.
If I were to put it in priority order, I would say one, get a coach because they're, an experienced coach who knows how to program through a variety of scenarios.
And that means a lot of things. Like, we will meet you where you're at in every way, but physically.
Right. Two would be to barbell train, or at least I guess number one would be barbell train, because now you're getting the most return on your invested time in terms of exercise. Two would be a coach. Three would be a home gym. I think I'd put it in that order.
Yeah.
You could argue the home gym before the coach.
I don't know. I would even say get a coach first, because while you're developing your home gym, your coach can still help you make do with what you have.
That's true. And that's what I did too. I mean, it's easy to say gym before coach, but I couldn't have done it without having years of being coached before I started building the home gym. So yeah, I guess I would go commit to barbells, get a coach, and then start working on building your gym.
Yeah. And then they'll help you pick out which equipment to buy next based on what's important to you, based on how much time you have. And it's like, I think the heavy lifting needs to be your hands on the bar and not the work around it. That's what having the gym right out the door is for. That's what having a coach is for. And the coach is really the one who's responsible, and they take it upon themselves to find something that works for you based on the information that you give them. And that's really hard to figure out on your own because there's a lot of information out there. It gets to be really overwhelming. And sometimes it's even just hard to pick a goal, and you need some coaching on that.
Well, that's one of the things I think is missed when you're talking about time management and where the value of a coach comes in. Is the information available for anyone that has access to the internet to be able to go learn how to become a coach? Yes. How long is it going to go take to learn all that information and then distill that down into something that's practical for what you need, where you're at? And then you're also going to be able to adapt to every scenario that comes up, whether it's injury or a change in schedule or availability or equipment or
traveling
or travel or goals or priorities. Every single one of those things is years of experience and knowledge that you could spend preparing to be ready for those things, or learn through it the hard way as you're going through it. Or you can outsource that all to somebody who's done it a bunch.
Who's already done that.
And can help you work through it. So when you're talking about time management, I think that's something, and I'm not just talking about for barbell coaching. That's one of the things we've been working on with Turnkey Coaches on our sales pipeline. We went and hired a coach, basically. And I've been working with a sales coach for several months now to help us get this big machine kind of up and running on the sales side. It's anything where you're trying to learn something that's somebody else is out there with expertise that's done it before is going to help you close that time to getting value.
Right.
To me, it's always been a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. That's how you, to use Dan Martell's phrase, buy back your time.
Yeah.
Automate what you can, outsource what you can, make it really low friction in some areas. And then you actually take action. And I remember you hammering on how important that is. Like, you actually do something.
Yeah, you really don't get the learning loop until you've taken action. You can read about it, watch videos, take classes, think about it, but the real work doesn't happen until you act. And then you start going through the learning loop. Yeah, start lifting first. You know, that if anybody's out there on the fence, get out there and do your best. We've lots of free content.
It can be simple.
I definitely think there's enough content out there to get started with an obvious linear progression and, the big compound movements. In fact, I think I've said it before, like my favorite clients are the ones that have tried it at least to some extent on their own. I certainly would recommend starting with a coach from day one, but if that's outside your capacity right now, get started lifting. Like I said, barbell is number one. Play around with it, experiment with it, see how far you can get. And then when you get stuck, that's a great time to get a coach also.
Yep. And if you want to schedule a free call with us, that's exactly what we're here for with our experience calls. Go to barbelllogic.com/experience and we'll talk you through it. We'll talk you through how to pick out which equipment to use at the gym, wherever you go. We can even look at videos and photos of the gyms nearby you to help you decide which one's best. We can give you a program. We can look at your lifts. So you don't even have to pay for that. We do that for free.
Throw in one more time management pro tip that I think, which is outside of the barbell specific way of approaching things, to more generically just managing your time, which is to use time blocking. And that's easier for somebody who's sitting in front of a computer for most of their workday, but phones can enable it as well. And the basic idea is to plan your day based on blocks of time for tasks that you're working on, rather than having a checklist of things to do. Because what you're really managing, even with a checklist, is how you're spending your time. And if training is an important part of your day, then you can allocate that block of time to your week, your calendar, however much time you have. Maybe it's only 30 minutes, maybe it's 90 minutes, 3 times a week. But put that in as a block that you are committed to doing during whatever day and time works for you. I think it works best for most busy people to have a consistent time. If your day is really chock full of responsibilities, then often I find that doing it first thing in the morning works best for that type of situation, because it's usually quieter and most people have more control over when their day starts than once everybody else is up and running and the day is going. But doesn't have to be, because as long as you've got that chunk of time and you can move it around or whatever else is going on, as long as you are disciplined about showing up and doing the work whenever it is that you budget for it, then at least you have a way of making sure that it's carved out in your day.
Yep.
And you can put all the other blocks of time that you need around the training, or obviously vice versa. If training's not the highest priority, then it can get kicked down the road. But at least you've got a time in your day or your week where you're being intentional about mapping out when you're going to do that block of training, however many times you can.
Yeah, that's important.
It's a little tactical piece that I found completely changed how I manage my day. And then you also have a record that you can reflect on to see how you actually spend your time versus how you think you spend your time, which is often very different. If you just go through your list or your day, just kind of like checking things off, you can look back at the end of the day and wonder like, what the heck did I even just do? But just a plug for Google Calendar, they have a pretty slick feature called Google Insights, where you can just click a button and if you categorize all of your time blocks, it'll tell you how much time you're spending in the major, chunks, however you want to categorize it. You can color code it and label it. It gives you a pretty slick report of essentially how you're actually spending your time, assuming you keep your calendar up to date. Takes a little bit of overhead, but I think it's a game changer.
Yeah, awareness. Well, if you're interested in training, put it in your calendar and prove it. Hope it works. And if you need help, contact us, barbelllogic.com/experience. Sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcast, give us a review. Follow Andrew on Instagram. He's very inspirational. What's your Instagram, Andrew?
At Andrew Barbender. Although I haven't really been posting anything lately.
It's okay. There's good stuff on it. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you here next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.